many people asking, where could they donate? Where could they donate in his memory? And he would be like, guess what? I got a cat.
Welcome back to my channel. I just saw something that was a synopsis for what's going on this week on Sister Wives. In the past 3 weeks, I've noticed it's been very odd that this TLC has not released new episode teasers. And at the end of the episodes, there haven't been coming up on Sister Wives. And I think that's odd because they've done this every single episode since the start of Sister Wives so far. And maybe it's due to the sensitivity of the topic. Maybe it's not to ruffle the family feathers, I don't know. But this upcoming episode, they released this very limited clip on the TLC's Facebook page. And it's basically the kids that are in Wyoming, like Janelle and all of Christine and Meri's children. They rent a home. It's like an Airbnb. And they all stay together, and they're all there together in Wyoming. And then they meet up with Cody and Robyn and the kids, and you don't see all of them together in the same shot at all. But that's sort of what it's about, they're bringing him to Wyoming to lay him to rest. But this will be the season finale of season 20 of season 19. It's the 25th episode, and there will be 4 tell-alls after this, which almost feels unnecessary at this point. I don't know, that going back and arguing about the feuding between the family even seems relevant at this point. But I digress. The summary for this episode. I read it on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was just, the family has come together in Wyoming to pay tribute to Garrison and bury him in the family plot. Alongside his grandparents, Cody digs a grave for his son's ashes, and the family says its goodbyes. I don't know anything about this cemetery. I don't know if Penrose is a public sea cemetery. I did look at the memorials on a website called graves.com, and it doesn't appear to be just for the Browns. There's other people that don't seem to be related. Different last names all around, not specifically a small family type cemetery. It's outside of Powell in Bighorn. In Bighorn, it doesn't really even have an address. I couldn't even find a website. I don't know anything about this cemetery. I do know that I have had family members pass away, and I've never had a single family member dig a grave. I've also never had a single family member dig a grave and make money off of it on television. And I don't know you guys. I don't know if I could deal with an episode of Cody digging a grave for an urn that they're going to place in the ground alongside his grandparents, Wynn and Cheryl, right? They have a family plot where they've purchased a number of various plots together, so family members can be buried there, which is not out of the ordinary. And Janelle did mention that she purchased a plot right next to Garrison, so when she passes away, she can be placed next to Garrison. I've never heard, I guess some people do. I've just never heard of people burying multiple urns. I've heard of people doing internment small things where they place a urn in a sort of tomb in a building that's decorative at a cemetery. So it's a small little cubby-like area, and it's not even in the ground. So if you've gone through that, bear with me. I just haven't, I've yet to go through a funeral with my own family members where they've been cremated. I have nothing against cremation, by the way, so I feel kind of sick thinking about Cody on a show that has brought so much pain for this family, and on a show that this week we find out from Gwendolyn. We already knew this, but the kids weren't getting paid. Most of the kids that are going to be featured in this episode are not getting paid for their time. They're there. I guess they're getting a vacation out of it. But it's not even really a vacation. They're staying in Wyoming in an Airbnb together, which they could be doing every year anyway. So it's not like they're going somewhere they wouldn't visit anyway. You know what I mean? They may be having their accommodations paid for, maybe. But it's just so weird to think so this article drops from Teen Vogue. Gwendolyn essentially says, "We never made money off the show. The producers have jumped us and kind of ambushed us and asked us questions that we don't necessarily want to answer. Our toughest moments are usually made for television when it's really not what most of us want. And because this was being done in the way that it was being done, and because Cody wanted to be everything about him. I guess I would assume that the kids in this situation don't really have a choice whether or not they're going to be a part of it, because if they aren't a part of it, it'll
We
be
have so
written
many
in a
people
way that they
asking,
don't
where could they
believe is
donate? Where
true
could they
for
donate?
Garrison. So maybe they're there for that second, but I just don't need to see Cody digging a grave. I don't need to see anyone digging a grave, Cody. I think why my stomach dropped is because Cody dug a grave for a dog and put the dog in the ground in the backyard at their house in Lehigh. And that's what I'm thinking about. Like, so we're going to turn this episode into such as when he dug the dog. It just made me sick. You can hire people to dig out the plot for you so that you don't have to do it. It just feels like another performative way for Cody to show his undying love for a child that he didn't care about. That was when he was alive. And I just keep thinking, like, if Garrison was able to see this, what would he think of this? His final text messages were about his frustration with this show, his outrage at the production, informing them how he felt about it. You've got this week, talking about the exploitation of it, the lack of money, and the fact that all of their drama is now public, and there is no privacy for the adult children, even if they're on the show or not. Because anything that impacts Cody can become a storyline, and that's a dangerous situation for any individual that knows Cody to be in. Because if you don't want to be on a show, and you don't want your name mentioned on a show, even if you're related to him, you could end up on the show. You could be a topic of a conversation and a fight on a show where you're not going to be there to defend yourself because Cody wants to discuss it and make it a storyline. No one is safe with Robyn or Cody since they're going to make anything happen for ratings. The only part of all of this that I've actually discovered in honesty, what Garrison would have loved was when Janelle visited the Humane Society and learned about the room that they have in Flagstaff, the AAT adoption room, for its High Country Humane, and they raised over $25,000 because individuals donated to them. I know last year when all of this was happening, the proceeds of the videos that I was doing at the time, a large majority of it, I donated to High Country Humane, and then the other shelter in Flagstaff as well, and it felt like the right thing to do at the time. And so it was actually touching to see how all of that unfolded, like how it impacted so many other cats and families, like they were able to donate, they were able to waive adoption fees, and 25 or 35 cats got adopted in 1 month. And people didn't have to have to overcome the cost of being able to take the cat home because the donations that were made covered it. And then cats that required care received care because of that money, and won't in his memory will be celebrated there with the fact that that room was a room in memory of Garrison. And all 3 of his cats were from that same exact Humane Society. That was to me, like that's how you pay tribute to him. I suppose if you must have it on the show, at least talk about something that meant something to him. He loved his cats. They were like his kids to him. He had a soft spot for, animals that have been abandoned and are discarded. He was an advocate for rescuing, which is that rescuing animals isn't simple. I have a pair rescue dogs, and they have lots of special needs. And so when you're discussing bringing cats and dogs from shelters, you're bringing their trauma from where they've come from. And that can take time to get over for the cats, and some in dogs, and some of them don't. But with patience and love, some of them can really come around, and they find their forever happy home. Forever home. And that's what he was willing to give to those animals. And that's the kind of person he was. And so I feel like when she went there and did that I felt was dignified, because we're not talking about his death in a way in which we're needing to show that we're putting him in the ground. When we buried my mother-in-law and we went to the cemetery, I cannot conceive of anyone never having been there. I cannot conceive of cameras being there. I cannot conceive of it being grist for television or for the internet. I cannot conceive of the final moments before you lay your loved one to rest is being on a TV show, because those last few minutes are literally the worst for a family. I mean, when they lower the casket or the urn into the ground, and then they have you place your flowers or whatever it is that you have. We all placed roses on top of hers. And then some people will place dirt on top of the casket as sort of a like, we're going to start this, and the family members can do that. And that's so personal. It feels sacred. It doesn't feel like it's something you would exploit for television. And I don't really need to see Kody Brown digging a grave for a son that he doesn't care about, outside of the DNA that he contributed to make that baby happen, and the fake narrative he's trying to make amends to try to restore his reputation. He wasn't present for his son when he was alive, but he can show up and dig a grave for a stunt. Who does that? I don't know if I'll even be able to watch this episode. I'm gonna have to think about it. But I wanted to fill you in on it. And I feel like this is like such an unforgivable moment to me. Like, it's such a betrayal to Garrison, to be honest. I'm frustrated that Cody has this much control still over the women that they have to go
We
along
had
with
so many
this.
people
Because
asking,
I
where
can't
could they
imagine
donate? What
all
could
of
they
the
donate?
women were okay with this. I just don't know how they would be. And if they are okay with this, that makes me start to question all of the adults in the situation about the exploitation of this moment for television. You can talk about his death. You can utilize it as a means to open up discussion about mental illness and mental health and suicide. And you can use this as a means to teach and enable individuals to learn about the warning signs, which, to be clear, has not happened yet on the show whatsoever, but a positive impact could be had in that it could enable other individuals to know what they missed and what the warning signs are and what the red flags are and what resources are there available for people that do need help. It could literally save a life. But digging a grave is just so triggering, and it just so reminds me of when he put the dog in the ground, and I just felt sick. So to me, it's an unforgivable moment, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video, thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.